everybody, and welcome back to Facebook Live with the Sycamores. This week it's with Indiana State Baseball pitching coach Jordan Tiegs. It's a big weekend for the Sycamores heading out to Springfield, Missouri. They call Missouri State. If you haven't heard, the Bears have still not lost a conference game yet this year. We'll see what happens this weekend. But Jordan, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you and the Sycamores feeling? I'm sure feeling pretty good, riding a 6-game winning streak right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Luke. Yeah, we've been playing a lot better lately. Just taking care of business like we need to, and obviously got some momentum rolling into this weekend, so it's always good to come into Missouri State with a winning streak on the line.
I know you really focus on the pitching staff, but overall, just as a team, where do you feel the group is at right now at this point in the season as you continue to progress with the conference tournament not being too far away?
Yeah, obviously you want to have everything lining up so you're playing your best baseball as you head into the conference tournament, and I think we're finally starting to get to that point. You know, we've started to get some consistency in the top half of that order there. I know early we were juggling a lot of guys in and out, but I think that we found a pretty good mix at the top there, and we got some guys contributing, 1 through 9 in the lineup, and that's made a big difference for us. And then, the pitching, they've kind of started to hone in a little bit on trying to get a better feel of who fits where best, and, guys have started to really buy into different roles, and like I said, for the most part, we've played pretty solid baseball lately. There's some areas that we want to keep getting better at in these next 2 weeks, but ultimately I think we're in a good position moving forward.
I know every year the expectation is always high that you and Coach Hannes and everybody sits within the program, specifically the pitching staff this year. There were a lot of eyeballs placed on you guys. Where do you feel you've performed at this point in the season, and what do you like about where you guys are at?
Yeah, early I would say that we really underperformed, for various different reasons. But since conference play especially has started, I thought that our guys have really started to pitch, more to our ability level. And, we've done a pretty good job in the league play so far, minus one Friday night at DBU. But, they responded the next 2 days there. So I really like, we're getting some good starting pitching. I think the back end of our bullpen has been really good lately. We've had some guys, jump in for a hitter or two here. We've had some guys jump in for an inning or two that may not have been on the mound for a week or two. And for the most part, they've come in and done a really good job. So the ability for those guys that are kind of, not getting the regular innings to be able to keep themselves ready midweek and be ready when their number is called is big, because you never know when that 6th, 7th guy out of the pen is going to be called upon. It may be a big spot on a Sunday rubber series, and they got to be ready. So, like I said, I think our starting pitching has been a lot more consistent lately. Our back end's been good, and as long as those middle guys can keep being ready when called upon, I like our pitching moving forward.
One of those guys is Will Kincannon, and what he's been able to do really in his last 35 innings. I think somewhere along the lines of only 5 earned runs allowed, 43 strikeouts. Had a little bit of a rocky start, but what has Will done well really in these recent starts that has now propelled him to a guy that I know you had a lot of confidence in and still do, and Coach Hannes really liked heading into this year?
Yeah, I think Will's done a good job of adjusting. I think he got exposed early, which, it's easier to say now, but that may have been the best thing that happened to him, understanding that, it's not just about throwing hard at this level, because you face experienced teams like we're going to see this week and like we've seen all year in the league, and, velocity to them is not a big deal. They're going to be on time for it. So Will's learned to, how can I make my fastball effective? His ability to command his off-speed pitches here in the last 5 weeks has been a lot better. And his ability to make pitches while dealing with runners on base has been, the other big thing that's really helped him. And like I said, he's done a really good job of addressing each key piece that he's needed to as the season has went to get himself better and better. And, right now I think you're seeing him just putting it all together and having the ability to go out and try to execute a game plan. And I think he's done a good job of that the last few weeks.
No doubt Sycamore fans were eager to see him, but also Ryan Kiefaber. I know Ryan has battled through some injury issues this year, has been kind of now in that bullpen and that middle relief late game role. What has he done so well? We saw that really on display, really kind of settled down things for you in that third game against Illinois State to bring in that consistency, to be able to bring that game home late. What have you seen from Ryan Kiefaber that he's now really started to switch into what is a different role that he's not used to?
Yeah, I think Sunday was that was vintage Ryan. You come out and you're going to get any pitch anytime with him. It's a good change of speed, especially after seeing, a firmer guy like Jeremy go out there first and then go to Ryan, who's going to throw a lot of different things at you. And the thing with Ryan is he's experienced. He has been tossed into a lot of different roles this year, but he's handled it well. I think he's definitely one of those guys that truly is, hey, whatever helps the team. And he's closed obviously as a freshman. He started the last 2 years, so there's no real role that we don't feel confident in Ryan going out there and taking, and that's truly a blessing to have on your staff when you have a guy that no situation is going to overwhelm him, and you know what you're going to get with Ryan. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to have command of at least 2, probably at least 3 pitches that day, and at the end of the day, the other team's got to line up there and beat him. And you like your chances, especially on a Sunday or close game where the hitters might be pressing. Ryan's not going to press, so.
It seems like you never want to put more emphasis on one guy or the other, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. It really seems like Ryan, if you're going to make a championship run, he's going to be one of those big X factors at the end of the day of he's going to be a guy you point to and go, he's a big reason why we were able to make a run.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's been there. He's done it. And like I said, you look at a guy that teams probably sit there and get frustrated that they're not scoring more off of, but Ryan knows who he is. Like I said, he can handle various roles, and I foresee him being a big key for this, whether it's jumping back into the starting rotation, whether it's helping close games on the back end or fill middle innings, time will tell. But we feel very confident that in order for us to make a pretty deep run here, that he's going to be a big part of that somewhere.
Continuing to go through your pitching staff, one of the guys I was able to catch up with after Sunday's game was Austin Conway.
Mm-hmm.
He really brought me through his story of being in that closing role, kind of being looking through being in a starting role a year ago, changing from the closer to a starter. Now kind of it seems like he's getting back into that closing role with Jeremy McKinney kind of being one of those guys going to your main starters. Where does Austin kind of fit back into that role, and what do you like about him being in that closing role, which even though he was able to get into a little bit of a jam on Sunday, he got out of it?
Yeah, I mean, Austin, to me, mentally is bred for that kind of situation. I think he wants the ball with some adrenaline rolling late in games. The starting thing went okay early, but mentally, in terms of makeup, and guys are just kind of bred for the pen, you see, and that's kind of where Austin fits best. The thing about Austin is that the other team can line up and punch him per se, but he's not going to quit. He's going to keep coming at you, and that's what you need in that last inning, where they may threaten a little bit, they may get some things going, but with Austin, he's not going to back down, and he's going to keep coming at you. And similar to Ryan, like, you're going to have to line up and beat him, because I think that he is. Coach Smiley said it best the other day. He's one of those guys that truly does want the ball late in games, and you got to have that late. There's some guys that have stuff for sure across the league, but you got to have the mental side with it too. And I think a lot of experience helps that too, getting thrown into that role as a sophomore year and kind of developing as he went and figuring out, okay, this works, this doesn't work type deal. And I think he's really leans on that experience here this senior year, but he's done a good job this last month or so, like I said, being a key piece to that back end.
Some guys you brought up, how the biggest challenge could be from going from your freshman to sophomore year when people start to get to see you a tad bit more. Tyler Ward's an example of that, where it doesn't seem like he's had too much of a sophomore slump. Where has he grown the most this year from where you saw him a year ago as a freshman to now as a sophomore?
I think it's just his confidence and trustability out there. Obviously, he's improved his third pitch. His changeup has come a long way. But I think the one thing you saw with Tyler is some of those guys who have success as a freshman, they come in the fall and you're not quite sure where that attitude's going to be. Are they going to think they've got this thing figured out now and they're kind of head honcho, or are they, and Tyler did the opposite. He came in and ready to work again. I think that he's a quiet kid, goes about his business, and every week he's looking to make adjustments and things like that. And I think just his maturity has continued to help, and his belief in himself. That I think last year he saw some good success, but I'm not sure he truly felt that he was at that level yet in terms of being able to repeat it all the time. And this year, I truly believe that he takes the mound every time thinking that he will beat you. And regardless of who we're playing, I know in the Dallas Baptist series is a great example. We get a big windy night and they're putting up the 20 spot on Friday night, that's tough to take the ball the next day when you didn't see that another team miss very many barrels and you got to go against that same lineup. And you could tell right from the end of the game, he kind of gives you that look like, I got this, coach, don't worry. And that to me is the biggest difference from last year to this year. The stuff might be a tick better, but nothing glaring, other than maybe the third pitch, but just the mentality side of it and believing that, he is who he is and he's as good as he is. And I think carrying that out there has been a big piece of his success so far.
Before we get to Missouri State this weekend, kind of the last note on that pitching staff. Ethan Larison seems like been a very reliable arm out of the bullpen for you, as well as a Tristan Polley, and there's a cast of others.
Mm-hmm.
From your time here, where do you really think pitching depth has been?
Oh, shoot. This is by far, since I've been here, this is by far the deepest we've been. It's nice to be able to sit there and when Coach and I look at the board and who we want to bring in, and you got guys like Tristan and Ethan and Dane and, Lunsford and Hill, and those guys have all been there. It's nice to see that, okay, we can play a little bit more matchups now. Before in the past it was, okay, who do we think we can get 2 innings here to bridge the gap type deal. Now we can go, well, we got a couple lefties, so we can get a lefty for this guy. We got a trustable righty, things like that. But, yeah, a guy like Ethan, he's kind of closer 1B for us, if you will. We pick a good spot where, we think it might be a very important spot in the game. And he's a kid where, once again, the situation will never overwhelm him. We've brought him in multiple times with bases loaded, nobody else, and his heart rate's not going to be any higher. So you just, once again, they're going to have to line up and beat him. He's not going to implode on a situation. So guys like that are invaluable, in my opinion, when so many of these games that you see in the Valley are won and lost in those 5th, 6th, 7th innings. It's not so much the starter, it's not so much the closer. A lot of teams are pretty good there. It's who has those middle guys, and I think that's the biggest difference you're seeing. And finally, in conference play, we're starting to be able to excel in that area, probably more than some other teams.
So really what you're saying, Coach Tiegs, is your stress level during games are all-time low with the this year, right?
That could be further from the truth, I'll tell you that.
But probably even more so with looking ahead to the challenge at Missouri State. Ask Coach Hannes what really excites him most about his group heading into this weekend. He says, Luke, this is why you play baseball, to have a chance to go on the road in their house against the team that, of course, has had a remarkable year. What has made their year remarkable when you look at the stat sheet and also when you look at what they've been able to bring to the table? Yeah,
well, first, if you're not fired up for this weekend, then you shouldn't be here, for one. Not that I'm not fired up for every weekend, but yeah, they've done a good job. They return a lot of pieces in their lineup. Obviously, the offense stands out with their 2 middle guys with Berger and Ironman there. But they got some pieces around them, probably better than the previous 2 years, that help protect those guys a little bit. And they get good starting pitching. They have the same closer from the last, he's closed for at least 2 years, if not 3, in Brian Young. So he does a good job. Fromson, one of their other relievers, is kind of their version of Ethan Larison. He kind of comes in after the starter, bridges the gap to their closer, pitches a lot of important innings for them. So I think you'll see those 2 square off. I think, Conway and Young are very similar in that regards. And, you'll see they got 3 good quality starters. Their Saturday guys got as good as stuff you're going to see in the league. They got a really veteran, experienced pitcher on Friday night in the lefty Knutson. And Sunday they got a JUCO transfer, another lefty, Doug Still, who's got good stuff. So, we're going to have our hands full, but that if you go in there and you play well, we're going to be right there with them. And like I said, the opportunity to win a series like that is what you play for ultimately.
I feel like this is a cliche-type question to ask with how some things have gone this year, but when you think back to DBU, even though that Friday night game was 20-12, you were down 8-0, came back to tie that game and was in it for a little bit. Really, those last 2 games, really competitive all the way down to the 9th inning, had a chance to win those games. Just came up short, but you were swept. Knowing that, heading into this weekend, of course, you'd love to win every game. You'd love to win 1, 2. You want to win this series. How much more important is knowing you're going up against the top dog in this league, just to have that confidence of knowing the top 2 teams you play in this league, you knew you took at least a game from them, to where you knew a couple weeks ago you got swept by Dallas, even though I know you guys are still confident and believe if you had a 4th crack at them, you'd have a chance to win that game. But just from a confidence standpoint this weekend, the importance of trying to avoid that sweep that, of course, would even go into the conference tournament scene and all that stuff too.
Yeah, so I think that, the playing well at Springfield is going to be big for us, for our guys to get accustomed to the field, you know, what to expect from the surroundings and things like that, because ultimately we're back there in 2 weeks where a lot more is on the line than just this weekend. So hopefully our guys can understand that part of it and get a good feel. And like I said, when you play well at a place, that sticks with you more than people think. And getting good vibes from playing well at a place is definitely what you want when you're going to have to be back there in 2 weeks. So, and with the DBU thing, I mean, that showed resiliency in our guys and our guys' parts there, you know, to go down Friday night like we did and turn around, and ultimately we thought we had that game won on Saturday, and you know, an infield single on Sunday beat you. So the resiliency we've shown to go into places like that leaves me feeling very confident with this weekend. You know, like I said, I think it's going to be a dogfight, but I don't expect our guys to back down one bit. I think that we're going to go right at them, and we'll see what happens. But like you said, play well in the atmosphere, knowing that you're going to be back there in 2 weeks. And you know, I think it'd be a good wake-up call to the league when everyone else has struggled. That, you know, if we can go in there, and I think that'll only give us another notch in the confidence column.
I know the guys deserve a lot of credit for the resiliency you've shown. This really isn't lip service, but I really think a big part of the credit too goes to Coach Hannes, and really just his style and that calm demeanor is a big reason why your guys are so calm and have that confidence no matter really what the results are.
Yeah, Coach is really good at the mental game, and dealing with, you know, those that 18 to 22-year-olds where, you know, sometimes the highs can be really high for them and sometimes the lows can be really low. And I think one of Coach's biggest strengths is being able to help balance that and keep this train on its tracks, as opposed to getting derailed too much and you know, picking guys up when they need to be, or knocking them down a pedestal when they need to be, is a big part of what he does well. And like I said, it shows when our guys are able to. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. A lot of times, you know, we're going to have to turn around and be able to flip that switch, and that's something that, you know, he does a good job with and preaches a lot of, being able to turn that page and, you know, fresh start tomorrow regardless of whatever happened yesterday.
Finally, Jordan, before I let you go back into the bunker and continue to get ready this weekend for Missouri State, the biggest things you want to see really from your pitching staff this weekend against the Bears?
I want to see them attack, man. You know, honestly, I don't want to see us approach them like any different than we approach Illinois State or Bradley. You know, I think that we have the stuff to compete with anybody in the country, honestly, and I truly do believe that. You know, when you line up, the starters will line up man for man. There's nobody that worries me. It's about, can we maintain our composure and not try to do too much? Can we just go out there and execute our game plan? You know, on Friday, can Will go out there and make pitches as opposed to try to overthrow and prove that he's better than them, as opposed to stick to a game plan, execute your pitches, and let the results work for themselves. You know, and the same thing, Tyler will do the same thing. So as long as our guys show up and with the right mentality and they compete like they have, you know, as long as they don't try to do more, you know, I think we'll be ready, and that's basically what I want to see, is our guys come out with that edge and compete.
You can catch the games all weekend long on GoSycamores.com/watch with Sycamore All Access. Brian Fritz will be on the call. We'll also be there to get some video coverage as well. So hopefully you won't see this guy out there too much making a lot of pitching changes this weekend. Coach Tiegs, it's always great talking to you. Good luck this weekend.
Good. Thanks for everything you do, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Once again, that was Jordan Tiegs, pitching coach for Indiana State Baseball. Be sure to stay locked in for all the coverage on Sycamore Baseball on GoSycamores.com. For Coach Tiegs, Coach Hannes, Coach Smiley, Coach Vanderglass, everybody with Indiana State Baseball, I'm Luke Martin saying so long.